Namaste, everyone. Welcome to the Cārvāka podcast. This is Kushalmehra. So, today's podcast is an experiment. It's an experiment with ideas. I'll lay the background of when this podcast was conceptualized a few days ago when I was in Delhi and when Tushar and I were having dinner with our wives. That's when I floated this idea with Tushar that I've been thinking about this and I've been brewing something in my mind for a long time. And it had something to do with the nature of political discourse and the nature of systems. I was looking at a very macro way of analyzing how our systems work and what system suits our polity, and why I'm going to take a little bit time today to give a longish introduction is because you have to understand what I told Tushar, because otherwise you will be all at sea कि मैंने तुषार को क्या बोला था. So that's why he's going to come in maybe 3-4 minutes later on in this discussion, because everybody needs to understand. So India gets its independence. India decides to stick with the Westminster style, which is a federal system where the states have certain powers, the center has certain powers, and there is a concurrent list where there is overlapping of issues, which is fair enough. I get it. Now, over the years, things go on. I think I call the first 20-25 years of Indian polity pretty much what is called the Congress goodwill era, where Congress, was just carrying the goodwill of they fought for the independence. So they were just carrying the goodwill of that. Then comes the pivotal moment of Indian political history, in my opinion, where Indira Gandhi becomes too cocky and imposes the emergency. Emergency leads to the Janata Party and everybody else coming together. That leads to a lot of small parties, big parties, all coming together and toppling of Indira Gandhi for the first time. She comes back. But after that, the Congress was broken. There was a Congress I. The Congress we know today is Congress Indira, right? Congress I hai. Then from there, what I call is the fractured mandate era of Indian politics for a long time happens, where a lot of regional players came up initially for very good reasons. Sometimes some caste groups were not represented in India, so they came up. Sometimes some linguistic groups were not represented in India, they came up. Sometimes it was just regions that were not represented, they came up. There were political party groups based on religion, like the Shiromani Akali Dal, All India Majlis-e Muslimin, and many others, for good or bad reasons over the years. But all these political outfits, which I call regional outfits, and when I talk about them, I talk about all of them with the exception of the Congress, BJP. Till some extent, I know I'm not a fan of them, even the communists. Other than them, I believe all BSP is technically a national party, but I don't believe it is. I think it is also, it has all the attributes of a regional party, BSP. Now, what happens because of all of this eventually is a systematic way of how regional parties came up in India. It was through heckling, a lot of gundagardi, sometimes mob violence, sometimes agitations, which were absolutely justified in many cases. But over the years, the regional party has become a unique animal in Indian politics in the era of coalition, and they are here to stay. National parties have different pressures. Again, once again, I'm apologizing because I'm taking so much time, but I have to. National parties have a different pressure because they are pan India. They have to appease everyone, so they dilute their views on a lot of issues. Regional parties have no such qualms. They can have a hardened view on something because they just have to win in that area. They don't have to win across India. A Congress and a BJP has to have a pan India view because they have to win pan India. TMC doesn't. Shiromani Akali Dal doesn't. Shiv Sena doesn't. DMK doesn't. AIADMK doesn't. TRS doesn't. All these parties, National Congress Party doesn't. So because of that, these parties play their politics, and when they become more and more powerful, the national parties have to adjust to them, which has created a weird sort of a scenario in India. Now, this is why I wanted to do this discussion, that have we come to a point where regional parties in India have become a curse? I apologize for this very longish introduction. Now I welcome Tushar. क्या हाल है?
बहुत बढ़िया. And it's a good discussion to have. Maybe some will say it's a philosophical one. I tweeted about it, and people say, oh, the constitutional amendments required, numbers required. We're not getting into how we'll get there.
Yeah.
The question today is, should we get there? जाना होगा, वो बात का एक अलग डिस्कशन है कि अच्छा ये ऐसे सिस्टम है. Now, to continue from where Kushal left, let's look at the regional parties in India today and what they are doing currently. Let's start with West Bengal. What is the TMC doing there right now? The chief minister of the state, who starts with the 35% vote share in any election, says, I won't implement the laws that have been formulated by the parliament with respect to Waqf in my state. That is what she says. You come a little down, you come to Tamil Nadu. Stalin, for some reason, fighting anti incumbency, going for an election next year, is busy in the language war. The communists in Kerala are on a different tangent together, but probably they're planning a protest against some capitalist group as of now, as we speak. In Bihar, RJD is thinking about private sector reservations. In Bihar, JDU is thinking about the next election, and I hope not, the next switch perhaps. In Uttar Pradesh, Samajwadi is on a different tangent, but it's busy consolidating the Muslim and the Yadav vote ahead of 2027. Then you go to Punjab, the Shiromani Akali Dal. What is it doing? We don't really know, because they lost their stalwart leader in 2022, Prakash Singh Badal, and after that, the agenda of the party has actually been clueless. But the last big change they could have been a part of with the BJP, they walked out of the alliance, which was the farm laws, the privatization of agriculture in Punjab, along with the state support as it exists through APMCs. Now let's come to some other regional parties. What is the NCP doing in Maharashtra? A part of the NCP is with the NDA. A part of the NCP, which has Sharad Pawar, it's just restricted to a small region. But because its media management or whatever discourse you want to call it is so huge, everyone thinks there's a Chanakya hiding there somewhere. What is the Shiv Sena doing? Actual Shiv Sena is pretty much with the NDA, same on agenda, but the part of the Shiv Sena that was left behind, that created the whole rupture, that is itself confused about its identity. The Uddhav Thackeray faction I'm speaking of. So when you look at the regional parties, there is a common pattern. None of them have actually a national aspiration or a national policy aspiration. I'm not talking about this standing in the Lok Sabha here. Let's be very clear. When I list these national parties, I'm telling you what their topmost priority is. Stalin doesn't need to be worried about manufacturing in India because he knows he enjoys the geographical advantage. The center will get the investments for him. He has the geography. He just needs to do the bare minimum and it will be done. So he can focus on the language wars. In Karnataka, JDS, when it was with the Congress, it was just oscillating between power sharing and power sharing with two different parties. YSRCP, we all have read about the conversions, about what was going on in Andhra Pradesh. Telangana, BRS, did a bit of a job, got voted out. We don't know what their agenda is. So my question, of course, the Aam Aadmi Party. Now, some will say it's a national party, but as of this date, it's just restricted to Punjab. Right? What is Aam Aadmi Party's agenda in Punjab, a border state? We don't know. They're busy going hammers and tongs against the center, which was what they were doing in Delhi. So now when you talk about a national policy, do these parties have an ideological stand on, say, Waqf? No. An ideological stand on UCC? No. An ideological stand on CA? No. Farm laws? No. GST? No. Demonetization? No. Labor reforms? No. Manufacturing reforms? No. Capex? No. Tell me the last time you heard a regional leader, be it in the opposition or in the ruling party, saying, this is what the national party, be it the ruling party or the opposition party, thinks. This is our idea. This is what we want to do. Absolutely nothing. So the question today we are asking is, what is the role of the regional parties now? Is RJD's job only to consolidate the Yadav and the Muslim vote and hope for Nitish to flip to form the government? Is Akhilesh's Yadav only job now as a party to consolidate the minority Yadav vote and hope to break enough Dalit vote to form the government? Is Mamta Banerjee's only hope to consolidate the minority vote, break some of the Bhadralok vote and some of the Hindu vote to win another term in Bengal and let things go as they are, status quo? I'm not talking about the Northeast with their smaller parties because the politics is very different. It's far more localized and they have their own priorities. But these are older parties. So tell me, if the national ambition has to be carried out by the BJP, which leads the NDA, which formally leads the NDA, it's not a ad hoc alliance, it's not a makeshift alliance, and the Congress, which somehow still exists because yes, it got 99 seats last year. That was a new lease of life. So at least it has diverted that existential crisis now. But who are the other parties who really have a national policy? None of them. None of them.
Hmm.
Stalin cannot win 100 seats up in North India. Aam Aadmi Party has failed to make any dent outside Delhi and Punjab because there's a common Punjabi voter. Tejasvi Yadav cannot step into Uttar Pradesh. Akhilesh Yadav cannot step into Bihar. Forget Madhya Pradesh or Chhattisgarh. Hemant Soren, being a tribal leader, can win Jharkhand, but he won't win in Chhattisgarh if he decides to go national. Mamta Banerjee, for all her ambition, did not do well in Goa when she tried in 2022. So, Kushal, again, we need to understand these regional parties are now sort of kingmakers in a sense. Oh, there is this, every time they become relevant is when we have the election result day and their numbers falling short, and suddenly everyone is looking at, okay, which are the alliance parties in the state? Everyone is looking at Nitish, everyone is looking at Samajwadi in the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. इनकी अपनी आइडेंटिटी क्या है एक नेशनल लेवल पे? कुछ उसकी वजह से डिस्कोर्स सफर करता है. हमारा डिस्कोर्स आज रिजर्वेशंस पे क्यों आ गया है? प्राइवेट सेक्टर की वो भी क्योंकि कांग्रेस का ओनली होप टू एग्जिस्ट is to bind together all these regional parties, present a very regressive agenda, which these parties will support not because they're ideologically driven, no, because they are power hunger. So, is this really the system we need going forward as a parliamentary democracy? Fine, multi-party system बहुत रीजंस के लिए होता है. अब लोग कहेंगे डाइवर्सिटी है. सबसे पहला आर्गुमेंट जो आता है इस आइडिया के अगेंस्ट होता है डाइवर्सिटी. Oh, but Mamta Banerjee represents the Bhadralok. Stalin represents the Dravidian ambitions. I don't know what even that means. Right? Akalis represent the ethos of Punjab. Again, what is the capex of these states? You tell me. अगर
यार
ये स्टेट हाँ
तूने इतने सारे क्वेश्चन पूछ लिए हैं ना.
हाँ I went on a tangent.
नहीं 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 भाई. I just want to add a few things. See, both of us, why I love talking to you, Harsh, and some of you guys, Abhijit, is that, we don't agree on everything, right? I mean, we have major disagreements intellectually, but we actually think. Some of us actually try to think. तूने आम आदमी पार्टी की एक बात बोली थी. I want to give examples today. तुझे याद है बाटला हाउस एनकाउंटर?
Yep.
Now I will give you two examples. I will counter myself also. So because I want to make this as fair as possible. Like I'm trying to be as fair as possible. So there was a beautiful book that I read recently that was on the 100 years of Akali Dal and how Congress and its dirty politics in the 70s, because they wanted to beat the then Akalis who were moderates. Key point. Akalis initially. You're from Punjab. I'm a Punjabi. We both know Punjabi history. Nobody can challenge us on that. We have read enough on that state. How the Akalis were made extreme by the Congress at that time for dirty political reasons. And today Akalis are very much a extreme party. How the BJP diluted the Akalis, right? Till the extent I remember Akalis saying that we are no longer just a Sikh party. There is a famous Prakash Singh Badal speech. We are no longer a Sikh party. Asi sariya di partiyan. You remember? But why did it happen? Because the DNA of a national party, BJP, when it mixed with a regional party, Akali, it came down. But what did the regional party, Aam Aadmi Party, do to a national party, Congress? Arvind Kejriwal was the first person who started doubting the surgical strikes. Arvind
Yeah,
Kejriwal was the first person who called the Batla House encounter fake. Arvind Kejriwal was the first person who pushed Indian politics more left than the lunatic communists did. And
absolutely
look
true.
what its effect was on the Congress. Arvind Kejriwal destroyed the Congress.
I agree. I think Arvind Kejriwal has destroyed the Congress as we knew it in 2004 and between 2004 and 14. It was bad then, it's worse now. It was irreversibly bad then, now it's irreversibly worse. Their core ideology has not changed, right? They were also then minority appeasing party. Today also they're minority appeasing party, but in the minority appeasement, they've gone so radical left. They're talking about nonsensical ideas like equity, wealth redistribution. They're talking about religious reservation. But an important point, since you brought up Batla House encounter. Now, let's hypothetically assume all of you will say that in a two-party system, let's say the BJP is equating to Republicans, the Congress side, for now, let's assume Congress is equivalent to Democrats. Just assuming, I'm not saying they are. Hypothetical example. Any Democrat equivalent party in India will start with a 30% or a 25% vote share of those, the minorities. That's fine. The other side will also start with a 25 to 30% core vote share of those who are staunchly behind the Republicans, just like there are people staunchly behind the BJP in good times and bad. करेक्ट? तो यहाँ पर तो एक बराबरी होगी, पर इससे एक अच्छी बात क्या होगी? बाटला हाउस एनकाउंटर को पॉलिटिसाइज किया गया, पोस्ट पोल वायलेंस इन बंगाल पॉलिटिसाइज, सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक्स पॉलिटिसाइज, मिलिट्री एक्शंस पॉलिटिसाइज, a Great Nicobar project, a strategic project, politicized. Siachen politicized. 370 politicized. Constructions in the border politicized. Arunachal Pradesh politicized. Nathula conflict politicized. Doklam politicized. Galwan politicized. Kargil war politicized. If you get a two-party system, this is something you'll have to think about. It's all very subjective. But won't we get to a point where at least the other side will stop politicizing strategic issues? Today, there is an issue in Bengal of illegal infiltration by Bangladeshis. It's happening in Murshidabad, in the Malda region. It's next to the border, we know. It's not a problem TMC can solve alone. Let's be realistic. State police cannot solve this problem of illegal infiltration. Therefore, we should assume it's a national security problem. But because of the kind of politics there is in the state, TMC will say, oh no, this is not a problem at all. Congress will play second fiddle to the TMC and say, oh, Bhajpa is trying to build up a narrative for 2026. BJP will first have to fight the political battle before it fights the security. So my first argument, if we get to a two-party system where the regional parties choose to merge themselves closely with the party they feel they're ideologically gravitating towards, you'll have one simple problem solved. Your national security issues won't become political footballs. That's my first argument of the day to begin.
So now let's talk about the national security bit.
One last example I forgot.
Bolna bhai.
2611. There are articles, now we can't confirm if this is true, but there are articles, there are books which say that the then Prime Minister did not want to respond to Pakistan because there were general elections 4 or 5 months later and there was a vote bank to cater to. Now, if this is a two-party system, that Democrat Prime Minister is thinking, screw this, they're anyway going to vote for me if I take an action or not. We might just, and this is probably my hope or my optimism speaking, we might just become more Indian rather than more regional if we move towards such a system in the future, if at all. Yeah.
So, let's pick this national security bit now. And people might think because Bengal mein hua, I'm picking on it. Like seriously, I was in Delhi so many days ago. We were having dinner. मुझे थोड़ी ना मालूम है बंगाल में क्या होने वाला है और क्या नहीं होने वाला है. This is just that Tushar is busy, I am busy, you know, we have a life, and then we just happen to be like, चल आज Friday करते हैं. And then this whole thing, like, you know, Bengal happened, and then everybody will, before somebody accuses me, will literally finalize this days ago. But national security is my biggest concern, and where regional parties just have no incentive, yaar. They have no incentive because
Yes.
when your fundamental philosophical nature is, I am about this area, then the rest of the country is going for a toss.
अब एक बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग एग्जांपल, आज एग्जांपल्स बात होगी. कन्हैया कुमार के एक वीडियो आता है उस दिन, वेर ही सेज बिहार में सड़कें इसलिए बनाई जा रही है कि यहाँ का पानी ले जाएंगे बड़े उद्योगपति. ही इज लिटरली प्राउडली सेइंग दैट हमारे यहाँ तो इनकम ही नहीं है, सड़कें क्यों बना रहे हैं ना. दिस इज द degree of accountability he has towards his voters, towards his core voters. We don't need Kanhaiya Kumars in regional politics. Very, very straightforward. If someone is aspiring to be a chief minister or governor equivalent in that system, in the US it's a governor, right? In the chief minister equivalent, he should be aligning himself with the national objectives. What is the national objective? That Bihar is a poor country, we have to make it rich. Bihar is a backward country with a lot of marginalized communities. We have to give them enough socio-economic opportunities for them to be at par with the rest of the country, like states of Gujarat or Tamil Nadu or Maharashtra. But Kanhaiya Kumar here says, हम हाईवे क्यों बना रहे हैं? This is accountability difference. उसको फर्क नहीं पड़ता. Akali Dal walks out of an alliance it had been a part of for 25 years because it doesn't care what happens to the national picture for farmers. It's only worried about the farmers of its small state, which make up a fraction of the total farmers in India. छोटी सोच. अब ये वोटरों के साथ भी गलत हो रहा है, पर वोटर सोचता है ये मेरा रिप्रेजेंटेटिव है. जो आपका रिप्रेजेंटेटिव है, जैसे कन्हैया कुमार का एग्जाम्पल, उसको है कि मुझे इतने लोगों के बारे में सोचना है, मैं एक छोटी सोच रखूंगा. वहां का वो भोला भाला वोटर सोचता है कन्हैया कुमार तो मेरे साथ है. It's a very toxic sort of a relationship where the country suffers. अगर आज बिहार कमजोर रह जाता है या पंजाब कमजोर रह जाता है, देश कमजोर रह जाएगा.
देश कमजोर रह जाना. आज अगर सेपरेटिस्ट मूवमेंट्स इन इंडिया जिनको शांति से डील किया गया है, मैं आई वांट टू आस्क दिस क्वेश्चन टू एवरीवन. Every single separatist movement in India in different states are led by whom? Regional parties, from Kashmir to Tamil Nadu to Punjab to Northeast to everywhere. It is all regional parties. Now, before somebody says, but Kushal, you are not talking about the failures of the Congress and the BJP and the hard-handedness of the center at times in dealing with issues. Yes, I grant that. But mistakes are going to be made. Mistakes can be corrected. But the benefit of the citizens of those states is if they are a part of India or they are separate. And the problem is that those parties are just not incentivized. I'm sorry to say that when you are a party that is only centered around Tamil Nadu or Maharashtra or Gujarat or any of that sort, then you just don't have a national vision. The biggest proof of that is very few people go through the torture that Tushar and I do. We read political party manifestos. हम लोग उन वाहियात लोगों में से हैं जो पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज के मैनिफेस्टो पढ़ते हैं और फिर बेवकूफ के जैसे उस पर पॉडकास्ट करते हैं. जब नीतीश कुमार जी, जो अभी बीजेपी के पार्ट है, उनका मैनिफेस्टो हमने पढ़ा था, आरजेडी का भी पढ़ा था. ये बहुत कम लोगों ने पढ़ा होगा, मैंने और तुषार ने पढ़ा था. And if you look at, you want to see how regional parties think, even in a central election, you read their manifesto.
Yeah.
That is the giveaway. They just don't talk about the country.
Two examples. I remember RJD's manifesto, which said we'll have 5 or 6 airports in Bihar.
I remember that.
Now, if anyone sat down with Tejashwi Yadav, he would have told him, भाई, आप 6 एयरपोर्ट आसपास बनाओगे, उतनी आमदनी नहीं है, अर्थव्यवस्था उतनी दुरुस्त नहीं है, और फ्लाइट्स and we don't have a lot of flight companies now. We have 2 or 3 of them. They incur losses when they're taking off from such short distances. It's not profitable for them. Your routes are not going to sustain unless it's for a policy like Udan where the government is subsidizing them. The communists down south, in their manifesto, they wanted to do away with India's nuclear warheads. They know they are not going to come to power. They also know. But ठीक है, बोलने में क्या जाता है? Now, had this been a party with a national footprint, this would have been the talk of the town. Imagine in America if tomorrow a Democrat says in 2028 that I'm going to denuclearize America. भाई अमेरिका छोड़ो, पूरी दुनिया पागल हो जाएगी. हमारे यहाँ एक रीजनल पार्टी लिख रही है अपने मैनिफेस्टो में कि हम तो, इट्स अ नेशनल पार्टी theoretically, but it's a regionally restricted party. It says we are going to denuclearize the country. No one even bats an eyelid. No one cares. So accountability का in regional parties की argument number 2, where is the accountability in terms of national objectives? What is their contribution to the national sort of the pursuit of us as a nation?
So here's the thing. Now let us talk in favor of regional parties. Now regional parties का reason आने का क्या होता था कि there were genuine cases, like in the case of I would say the best case for a regional party to exist at that time, if there ever was, in my opinion, is Mayawati and the Bahujan Samaj Party. People may disagree with me. I think they had the best case if there ever was a case of a regional party to exist, because people were ignoring that community. Like it or not, they were being ignored. There needed to be a party who would talk about their interests. At one point of time, maybe even the Akali Dal was justified in existing. I am not saying regional parties need to be stopped or banned legally before somebody misunderstands me. I am trying to think out loud, what do we do with these pressures that are there? Because definitely, I don't want people from different communities to be misrepresented and underrepresented either. But let's say, isn't Mayawati a beautiful case of a regional party finally giving people across the country? Yes, their base was UP, but people forget Kashi Ramji was from Punjab. People forget that Kashi Ramji was from Punjab. And the irony is that he found Punjab so nauseating that he went to UP. He found his political career and his social career there. Mayawati ji takes over from him, forms a political party. BSP rose. They became a pan-India party, and now BSP has lost a lot of its base for whatever reasons that can be analyzed separately. But they had a role to play at one point of time. Another thing that I want to appreciate about Mayawati ji is, on matters of national security, Mayawati ji has always been on the right side of history, whether people like it. I want to praise another regional party, AIADMK in Tamil Nadu, on the matters of national security issues and cultural issues also. AIADMK has always been, by and large, exceptions apply, on the right side of history. Mayawati ji has been on the right side of history. There are parties like that. But then there are parties who misuse that also. Now I want to focus on the other bit of it, economics. Now we cannot say, because see, DMK disproves the economic points because they have, regional parties in Tamil Nadu have been pretty decent on industrialization of Tamil Nadu. That they have achieved. See, my political leaning does not matter. When I'm doing a philosophical analysis, I have to do it very openly. So, उन्होंने अच्छी इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन की है तमिलनाडु की. इनफैक्ट उनका अंडरस्टैंडिंग ये होती है, कोई भी आए ना, हम इंडस्ट्री को नहीं छेड़ते, लेट इट बाय एंड लार्ज रिमेन. So now, but on economic policy, regional parties, again, Aam Aadmi Party really started the Revdi culture on steroids. Aam Aadmi Party did. And they made it successful. They made it an art form. Now the national parties are also doing it, like it or not. Even the BJP is doing it. Some form of the other of Revdiism is happening. Now again, how do we deal with this kind of pressure?
You bring up an important point. Let's compare 3 political parties, regional. DMK in Tamil Nadu, DMK or AIDMK in Tamil Nadu, RJD in Bihar, Aam Aadmi Party or Akalis in Punjab. Before someone says BJP in Punjab, BJP was a far second fiddle. Akalis were ruling the roost. Now, of these three regional parties, whose economic model I would really want? I'm not sure, because it's not like DMK or AIDMK don't have their share of freebies. But at least on paper, Tamil Nadu has a growth model to show for. Bihar doesn't, Punjab doesn't, right? Odisha, PJD, silently behind the curtains, Naveen Patnaik doing his thing all these years, but the state has not tapped into its potential really so far. Do I want to pick up that economic model? No. Shiv Sena in Maharashtra, Uddhav Thackeray faction. It breaks away in June 2019 or October 2019 until June 22. What do? They have the RF protest. They have the bullet train work sort of halting. Environmentalism हो रहा है एक स्टेट पार्टी के द्वारा in a state like Maharashtra, which is one of the powerhouses of Indian economy. This is my problem. When regional parties take over the state, either in the opposition or as a kingmaker or as a ruling party, they stop thinking as a country, they start thinking as a state. That is where the third economic repercussion is. Now, some parties do well enough. Like Tamil Nadu में आज Foxconn, Wistron जा सकता है, कर्नाटका में भी जा सकता है, जहां फिलहाल there's a non-BJP or a non-center government, in the sense that this government and the center and the state are different. But what are the big problems that this country needs to fix today? Let's take a list I have prepared. The judicial reforms. Today, if the BJP starts touching judicial reforms, we know for a fact Congress will gather 5 or 7 regional parties and make it about attack on judiciary. When judicial reforms benefit every single party, every single voter, irrespective of which party they support. Agreed? Number two, the issue of illegal infiltration. Today, if the BJP was to impose Article 3 and 239 in West Bengal or parts of West Bengal, say the Ministry of Home Affairs is going to take over parts of the state that are a national security problem, work with Mamata Banerjee. Will Mamata Banerjee look at the elections first or the national security problem first? It's a question for the people to answer, for the people to think about. Let's talk about our strategic security interests. There are parties in this country that are opposing the Great Nicobar project or constructions in Ladakh. There is this buffoon activist who keeps coming to Delhi, was in Pakistan recently, and he's backed by a few national parties and regional parties, including the Aam Aadmi Party. Why? He's saying, do not come and build in Ladakh, when we know that the Chinese have constructed highways until Pangong, so even landing strips. This is where regional parties have no accountability. Let's talk about infrastructure, capex. तुम्हारी वाली बात, आम आदमी पार्टी ने फ्रीबीज बांटी, सब पार्टियां फ्रीबी बांट रही हैं. Infra capex spending goes for a toss. Let's talk about manufacturing. Shouldn't be a national concern. It's not for the regional parties. They don't care. And finally, military modernization. You see what has been done to Agniveer, of all things. Doesn't it raise a question? What do regional parties want? The regional parties will be happy to politicize the issue of Agniveer, because the regional parties never have to answer their voters on the issue of national security. Tomorrow, if there is a national security problem, or when there was, it was either the Congress answering or the BJP is answering for the last 11 years.
Yeah.
Not a TMC, not a DMK, not an AIDMK, not a Shiv Sena, not an NCP, RJD, JDU, whatever. ठीक है ना? तो उनको तो अग्निवीर पॉलिटिसाइज करना है. एक सबसे बड़ा मुद्दा जो इस देश का है, रिजर्वेशंस. आज क्या समाजवादी, आरजेडी, टीएमसी जैसी पार्टियां, will they come to the negotiating table with the national parties? Let's say Congress says, okay, let's relook at reservation. We are nearing 100 years of independence. Let's relook at it. All these parties will say, you're going to screw our vote share. We won't be sitting with you. We'll go back to our states and create agitations. We'll create policy disruptions. So how do we solve the biggest problems of this country if the regional parties are never going to sort of be accountable on that front? हम बायपार्टिसन पॉलिटिक्स की बात करते रहते हैं. अभी पिछले साल इलेक्शन थे, सब आके बैठ गए, ओ इंडिया नीड्स अ स्ट्रांग ऑपोजिशन. व्हाट इज टुडेज ऑपोजिशन? कांग्रेस इज नॉट इंडियाज ऑपोजिशन. आवर ऑपोजिशन टुडे इज अ खिचड़ी. Congress with 99 seats, then Samajwadi with 35, 38 seats, then TMC, a bit of seats for NCP, Shiv Sena, whatever MPs are left, RJD here and there, DMK then, of course. Our opposition is a khichdi. So how are we ever going to solve one nation, one election? Ab jaise regional parties will never come on board. Never. So our economy can suffer, our policy making can suffer. I'm not saying regional parties need to sort of have a big heart. My thing is their ideology at the event of a Lok Sabha elections is not their ideology. All of them have been supporting Rahul Gandhi in 2024, 2019, 2014. Before that, a few of them were supporting Manmohan Singh. Then before that, whatever Congress leaders were pairing in the 90s. इन रीजनल पार्टीज ने लोकसभा इलेक्शन पर अगर एक सेंट्रल नेशनल फिगर को ही बैक करना है और स्टेट लेवल पे अपनी ही पॉलिटिक्स खेलनी है तो what is the point really?
Another aspect, you spoke about economics and many things. Two of the most major reforms that India needs, which are actually connected, I think it was Mr. Salve who had said that judiciary is causing a drop of 1 to 1.5% overall of our economic growth. If I remember, Mr. Harish Salve had said that or something, right? And please correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I think it was Mr. Harish Salve who had said that it has an economic impact, the judicial reform bit. But the biggest reform that affects India's economic story and many other social strives in India is the law and order reform.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is that, again, in that case, because regional parties are primarily based on identity politics, whether linguistic identity politics, whether caste-based identity politics, whether the region-based identity politics, these are the three broad natures of their identity politics, or religious. Four, they are never incentivized to do police reforms in the country, especially them. I'm not saying that the national parties have been amazing, but they have been better than the regional parties in these things. In Punjab, the only reason the ratio is good is because Punjab was literally a broken state with had so many problems. That's why Punjab and the Northeast region fixed itself. Again, uska reason hai ki the center had to interfere and things had to be done before somebody tries. And so even from the domestic security front and domestic stability front, regional parties have not done that well. They just don't do that well. And when you don't do it, it affects the nature of the economic model of India too. There is just no incentive to fix any of this rubbish in India. And these, see, it's not just a problem has a one-to-one relation in economics or in society or anything in life. A problem has a second order, third order, fourth order, fifth order effect. And when you don't fix the police reforms, you have so many problems because of this. We just don't grow. Because अगर आप एक बात बोलो ना, आज अगर बंगाल में ये जो political violence is a thing in Bengal, the communists started it. TMC has mastered it. Communists are pretty much a regional outfit, not a real national outfit, the communists in Bengal. And because of that, boss, nobody is going to invest in Bengal. Who suffers? Doesn't India suffer?
See, if you're talking about regional parties, again, I'm very clear they don't have an ideology. Let's say if we have a two-party system. We have already discussed 30% vote share to begin with on both sides. So you're fighting for the last 40% vote share. At this point, let's not assume there will be an electoral college. Let's assume it will be through the route of the Lok Sabha. ठीक है, लोक सभा जैसे चल रही है, सेनेट वेनेट वाला भी वो हम उस कॉम्प्लिकेशन में नहीं जा रहे. Let's just think two leaders contesting against each other. The Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, said a few years ago, let's focus on welfare, not freebies. Now, he can very well do that in the center. He can say no cash transfers. He did that during COVID. Even on the best cash transfer he is given as an income tax, threshold has now increased to 12 lakh. There is no helicopter money per se. But he can't stop the state governments because they have their own priorities. Say in Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh, they are from the state budgets. Right? Now, had there been two parties, my argument is that ideologically, all these state parties become closest to the national party. Okay? But then, why can't they do that economically as well? Let the big players decide. It's that simple. You're worried about your identity? Let it be represented in the Lok Sabha. Tomorrow, if delimitation happens, we'll have 850 Lok Sabha seats, assuming. You let your representation be intact. I'm not saying there shouldn't be any SC, ST, OBC, Dalit, Muslim seats. सब होगा जो हैं जैसे कैंडिडेट्स आते हैं. हैदराबाद से ओएसी को लड़ना है वो लड़ेगा. But then he'll fight the biggest national contender he wants to work with. But it has to be a two-party system. We are losing out on so much potential, so much, because there is no bipartisan agreement. Congress is driven by its own desperation today. It has to keep. You look at how UPA 2 was managing its affairs. The nuclear deal, for instance, there was a question of how the regional party will react. आज जम्मू कश्मीर है, अगर हम दो पार्टी सिस्टम होते, you think 370 would have lasted this long? You think construction in Ladakh would have been delayed for this long? You think Northeast would have suffered from tyranny of distance? A lot of issues are just put in cold storage because some parties realize that we are kingmakers. We can play politics over it and make it a state level issue when the state election comes. And now Congress, being Congress, realizes, yeah, I can't be very cocky in the Lok Sabha election because a couple of years later, I might need them in the assembly election. So it's a toxic relationship going on. We are caught in a vicious loop. This is the point Kushal and I brought up also during our discussion on that one nation, one election, where he disagreed to the idea. I sort of thought it's a workable idea. Is that our discourse is heavily inspired by polity, not policy. हम रोने बैठ जाते हैं, चाइना में ये हो रहा है, अमेरिका में ये हो रहा है, हम नहीं ये कर रहे. जब होता है हमें पॉलिसी में इंटरेस्ट नहीं है. Let's be very honest. As Indians, majority of us want drama on our news channels. We'll be very happy watching someone ripping off someone else's hair, not watching a serious breakdown of policy. That is how we are conditioned now as a nation, but that is not how we can progress as a nation. So that is where we have to start debating what about the two-party system. You look at Punjab right now. There is a regional party in the state which says, we don't care, we'll tell the center to give us a grant. If not a grant, there is a highway to Delhi, we'll come and sit there. Then there is a second regional party which says, we are not going to work with the other big national party. We are going to launch a protest. There is a highway to Delhi, we'll sit down there. Sabka ek hi agenda hai. Where is Punjab's future in that? The regional party is securing its future. Punjab's future goes for a toss, and consequently, the area, the geography there, the people there, they go for a toss. I mean, just to break down this entire theory into one simple point, there is more gain for even the voters in a bipartisan system where there are two parties rather than a multi-party system. It's something we have to debate. Don't get into the intricacies now as to how it will be done. कि एक house होगा, senate में क्या हर state से दो लोग होंगे, presidential system की तरह अलग vote होगा, वो सब बात की बात है. The house is a later part. Right now we're just on the philosophy of it because this is not a policy that is in the works. I don't think the government is even going to think about it for the next 20 years. We are just sort of at this point doing a what if.
Yeah.
Can
This
you think
is
of any other big economic problem that would have been solved much earlier bipartisan system?
I want to talk about something very important. Abhi, see, I'm going on layers ke niche kar raha hu. Now I'm giving you another thing. You know, people often talk about regional parties represent the will of the state. We want more decentralized systems. Now, why decentralize till the unit being the state is my question to every Indian. I'll tell you, I'll give you a very important example. India is now almost 50% urban. Urban centers drive the economy of India. MMR, Air NCR, Bengaluru, and these and Hyderabad, and then some other centers, we have to realize these are your economic drivers of this country in terms of all things. What rights does Mumbai have? Can somebody tell me? दिल्ली को तो चीफ मिनिस्टर मिल गया. मुंबई के क्या राइट्स हैं? मुंबई को ये जो बिलियंस ऑफ डॉलर्स की इन्वेस्टमेंट आज मिल रही है, विद ड्यू रिस्पेक्ट टू एवरीवन एज अ मुंबईकर, ये 20 साल पहले मिलनी चाहिए थी भैया. मुंबई को तो ना मिली. और अगर डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन का लोगों को इतना शौक है, तो मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि व्हाई नॉट डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन एट द लेवल ऑफ द सिटी? व्हाई स्टॉप एट द स्टेट? ये क्यों? एंड देयर अगेन, if we had an elected mayor system and we had a separate kind of a system where we had more freedom and more individualism built into, maybe Mumbai would have gotten a better share, Delhi would have gotten a better share. Look, like it or not, Kejriwal or anybody else was fighting for Delhi. If Delhi had a mayor, that would have been better. हमारा सिस्टम क्या है? आज ये लोग रीजनलिज्म करते हैं and they just get stuck at the state level. But boss, cities have their own unique issues. If we, and this I want to pivot to that, is the current system working for us? I'm not saying we need to have a Republicans versus Democrat kind of system, but if we had state representatives, city representatives who were empowered more, Tushar, they are not empowered in the current system, whether we like it or not. One of the biggest impediments in India is this anti-defection law. I'm sorry, वो जो नरसिम्हा राव राजीव गांधी के टाइम से जो शुगुफे शुरू हुए हैं और वो आज तक हैं, and BJP has done it more. यार, you can't have a democratic system जहां पे आप लोगों को अपनी विल, यार ये कोई विल है? An MP in India or an MLA in India is not representing the will of his constituents or her constituents. They are representing the will of the party on the constituents. It's a completely lopsided system in India. There is no elected mayor who fights for my city. Nobody's fighting. आज तो इलेक्शन ही नहीं हो रहा. छोड़ो वो सब तो छोड़ दो. मुंबई, हमारे यहाँ तो म्युनिसिपैलिटी का इलेक्शन भी नहीं है. हमारा तो ठन ठन गोपाल है. Basically, the point is we don't have a truly representative system. Okay, we understand, local people have their thing, but maybe, people of Mumbai or Marathi speaking people or whatever, if we had a system which was slightly tweaked, like, I don't know, can we have a khichdi of the Westminster and the American style? Something of that sort, which will get better representation for us?
It's an interesting thought, because when delimitation, we'll be discussing a lot of delimitation in the coming months, I'm sure. It's a fair ask that why don't cities like Bombay, Bangalore, Delhi, or even Pune or Hyderabad have a greater say in policy making through their MPs? Why shouldn't, say, Bombay or Mumbai have more seats than, say, at least Bihar to a certain extent? It's a fair ask. At some point, you have to ask, what is the economic value of a voter in a democracy, not just the existing value. Fine, one vote is equal to one human, that's all good theory. तो एक तो रिप्रेजेंटेशन का प्रॉब्लम है ही, बट प्रॉब्लम पता है क्या, ये एंटी डिफेक्शन, ये सब जो लॉज भी हैं, हमारी पॉलिटिक्स भी तो करप्ट है ना. वी आर अ कंट्री वेयर गवर्नमेंट्स फॉल बिकॉज ऑफ वन वोट और टू, वन एमपी और वन एमएलए. वी आर दैट काइंड ऑफ अ गवर्नमेंट. अभी पीछे हिमाचल में भी तो यही होने वाला था बिफोर डीके शिव कुमार फ्लू इन. Somewhere we are also very corrupt in our political pursuits, that we reduce it just to power sharing, which is why our thinking is 5-year term. First, we were cursed by the 5-year plans. Now we are cursed by the 5-year thinking plans at a state level. And this is bringing back to our original point. Why do we need regional parties? And, I have a certain hope. Will tomorrow TMC be willing to go back to the Congress after 20 years or 10 years? It came out of the Congress, mind you. Would Akalis see a future within the BJP more than this as SAD? आम आदमी पार्टी तो हर इलेक्शन में कांग्रेस में घुसना चाहती है. RJD, I don't know what they'll do, but they are now the manifestation. They are like the Bihari representation of the Congress in Bihar. RJD in Bihar is no different than Congress across India. Both parties are pretty much the same in their aggressiveness. So they can probably merge. And all of these parties, mind you, Kushal, 10 years from now, all these regional parties will be looking very, very different in terms of their political capital. Let's not forget that. People watching this might be saying, you both are bullshitting, you idiots, that they have such stalwarts. How can they think of merging themselves with the Congress? 10 years later, you might have a Gandhi-free Congress. You might have. You might have regional parties that not face an existential crisis, but which are without political capital. A lot of political parties do not survive the second generation or the third generation until the third generation. It's no guarantee. Look at what the BSP has been reduced to. Irrespective of the good intent for the people they cater to, BSP today is struggling to have a decent footprint in Uttar Pradesh. Forget nationally. We don't know what the future of the BSP after 10, 15, 20 years. We don't know what the future of NCP SP is. NCP Sharad Pawar faction. You see what has happened to Shiv Sena after Balasaheb Thackeray. You see what's going on with Akalis after Prakash Singh Badal. You look at what's going on with the regional parties which were once prevalent in Haryana. JJP ko kya hua? They were the kingmakers in 2019 election. They were disappearing in 2024 election. So what I'm trying to tell you, the situation around you never remains the same.
I can back you with a great example. Look at what Shiva Sena started as and what Shiva Sena became.
Exactly. So,
like, do you think Balasaheb Thackeray and Aditya Thackeray have the same ideology?
They have political DNA which is as different as Jupiter and Venus at this point.
Like, Balasaheb Thackeray is someone I have, so much admiration for his contribution to Mumbai especially. But look, where is Aditya? He's not even a pale of Balasaheb Thackeray.
I mean, think about this. That's why I also like the electoral bonds. It was pretty decent way of doing business for political parties, that you only bank on the ones who can win. And eventually people would have figured out that, okay, existing independently doesn't make sense. TMC, for instance. Do you see a future for the TMC after 10 years? I don't know if the TMC will be running West Bengal or parts of West Bengal will be running TMC. If you think about it, who is controlling Bengal today? Who's controlling TMC today? We just don't know. Which is why you need bipartisan politics. आज अमेरिका में ना लोग बड़े फट से कह देते हैं, oh, look at the Democrats and Republicans, they don't see eye to eye. Fair enough. But if the issue of Taiwan comes up, they will be together. They will be supporting action in the Pacific together as they did in Atlantic 70, 80 years ago. हमारी तरह बेवकूफों जैसे बैठ के ये नहीं पूछेंगे, अच्छा तुमने पाकिस्तान पे बम गिरा, जरा सबूत तो देना.
You know what the Democrats and Republicans like and agree on? That America is the best in the world. They agree on that. Both of them agree on that.
Our parties don't. You might want to laugh it off. Our parties don't.
Our parties, one party says we are the worst in the world.
One party says we should learn from China. The other says we should become better than China. It's two-way street. Okay, let's give you more examples. On tariffs, you want to mock Trump. Fair enough. Biden was also sustaining some of those tariffs. He also imposed sanctions on critical technologies on China, especially on semiconductors. He is also pushing TSMC to come build in America to secure American interests if China invades Taiwan tomorrow. Their domestic politics on abortion or wokeism might be very different. That's fine. But on foreign policy, they are united. Are we united? If today the Prime Minister goes to Sri Lanka and our businesses get better deals, which is fine, which is a part of diplomacy, which is how big developing economies expand. A regional party has a problem here. A regional party which will never exceed 50 seats of the 540 in the Lok Sabha tells the Prime Minister of India, तुम ये जो श्रीलंका में या बांग्लादेश में डीलिंग कर रहे हो ये गलत है. This is unfortunate, and this is why I'm hoping. I don't know what DMK will look 10 years later. Look at how much AIDMK has changed in the last 5-7 years.
I have a question for you. In states like Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, basically the two national parties are the baseline for the longest time. Yes. You agree with me?
Yep.
You see none of these problems. You have problems in those states. I'm not saying those states don't have problems. Please don't misunderstand me. But these problems that Tushar keeps on highlighting, कभी सुना है गुजरात में होती है ये? कभी सुना है एमपी में होती है ये? कभी नहीं सुना होगा, क्योंकि दोनों कंट्रोल्ड बाय नेशनल पार्टीज रही हैं फॉर द लॉन्गेस्ट टाइम, and with strong regional leaders, national parties who had strong regional leaders. So this is my next set of thought to you. So what do you think of this? Because I was looking at Gujarat and MP as a good example.
Now you look at Punjab also. There was very briefly a time in Punjab when Akalis when Akalis were facing off the Congress. And those who even remotely follow the politics of Punjab know the Congress in Delhi and the Congress in Punjab under Captain Amrinder Singh was very, very different.
Oh, brilliant. I would always support Captain.
In
Everybody
fact,
knows who
Captain
watches
Amrinder
cricket.
Singh, though whatever he did on farm laws was more of a politically driven, desperate move, in 2004, before 2007, actually, he was trying a pilot project privatizing agriculture in Punjab. Akalis were
Yeah.
up for contract farming. So there was this time briefly in the 2000s when both the parties realized, yes, we have our differences, we have our problems, but Punjab needs to move. It did not. It did not, sort of plague itself with the problems of the 90s or the 80s. It was moving on. And you saw decent progress in Punjab in the 2000s as well. It's just that things started going downhill after 2012, 13. But there have been brief instances. Look at Gujarat is a fine example. Congress has a 35-40% vote share. Even though BJP sweeps the state, Madhya Pradesh is the same story. But you don't have these problems there. If there is a bigger statewide interest, it will work. Maharashtra, it used to work fine, but now it's all fractured there. Karnataka no longer works that way. You look at what the Congress has done. And you are right. Someday there should be a podcast on what the Aam Aadmi Party has done to the ideology of Rahul Gandhi in the last 10 years.
Mm.
I mean, not that Congress was very nice 10 years ago. It was as loony left as it is today, but from a policy perspective, right?
No, they had some maturity ना, अभी तो वो भी चली गई है. Congress
वो
is
भी
behaving like a regional party. मेरा लास्ट पॉइंट यही होने वाला था. है, Congress has become a regional party.
तो इस देश में फिलहाल एक ही नेशनल पार्टी है. मैं तो एक ये भी चीज कहता हूँ, इस देश में एक ही अर्बन पार्टी है, विच इज द बीजेपी. There is only one party in this country which cares for the urban voter, at least for their tax money, because they like to invest it in infrastructure, not dole it out as free cash, which Rahul Gandhi is dreaming to do, which is the BJP, which is the other opposition. Can we have a Gandhi-free Congress combining itself with the TMC, with the DMK, with the Samajwadi, and saying, okay, this is going to be a minimum common program, which is the phrase they use, I'm not using, and say, okay, we are going to leave behind the loony left politics of the silver spoon scion, and this is the agenda we are going to create. The communists who want to denuclearize can go to hell. We'll take the saner communist, if there is anything like that, on our side. We'll take whatever smaller parties, say from the northeast or from the mainland states, want to come in. Fine. We'll create a new front. Call it whatever you want to. Okay, but that would be the Indian version of Republicans, Democrats, and from there a leader can emerge. It won't be Mamta or Akhilesh or anyone, because I'm talking something which might happen 20, 30 years into the future. Okay, but can that happen? Right now, a lot of these philosophical discussions we are having, their practical application or achievement is also restricted in our heads because we think, अरे कांग्रेस गांधियों के बिना कैसे हो सकती है, और वो इस चीज को अलाउ नहीं करेंगे.
That is the problem, which is, see, my whole thing is that India is at a cusp as a democracy, and my entire intention of discussions like this is I want India to grow at 10%. Like at least I aim for something like that, right? And a lot of these bottlenecks now that India faces, I think regional parties are an integral part of those bottlenecks. Either they fix them, and then I'm fine. Okay, you change your nature. But I just don't think identity politics at its core allows regional parties to change. That's my problem.
भाई
Like, just
2000
they are not incentivized.
2013 में एक और एग्जांपल, मैं तो आज ना मतलब
Hmm?
2013 में यूपीएससी में सीसैट इंट्रोड्यूस होता है। दिल्ली में बसें जलाई जाती हैं क्योंकि बिहार से आए हुए बच्चों को प्रॉब्लम होती है। अब बिहार में वो पॉलिटिकल मुद्दा बन जाता है। आप यहाँ बड़ी बड़ी बात, आई मीन a lot of people from the last few days have been expressing their anger on Twitter, rightfully so, that we are not China, the policies are not like China. I'll give you a simple example. Today, if the government has to fire a corrupt bureaucrat, you know what is the first thing they'll have to worry about? What is his caste? Because if he's fired because he's actually corrupt, proven corrupt, the other side will make a political issue out of it. And before you know, the numbers will be out in the studios of Noida calculating how the vote share impacts in the next assembly election. This is how regressive we are as a nation. The doers are restricted by the politics of those who have absolutely no national ambitions. Absolutely none. Today, a business, an entrepreneur will suffer in a state because of government changes, and political instability in states is a major reason why investments are hindered in India. Because they are worried, is the state politics first, or is my desire to probably add a few decimal of GDP to the national growth bigger? What's more important? State politics.
Fair enough. Before we
And
wrap up,
And
let's get
we
into
talk
final
about
stages
brain
now.
drain. Brain drain. Final point. Brain drain. Reservation is a huge issue. It will be bigger issue 30 years later, because after we complete 100 years of independence, we'll really sit back and ask: are there really any generations left, or are there any communities left that need to be uplifted from the scratch even now? 100 years later, when we are say a 20 trillion, $25 trillion economy, and then we'll sit down and think, how do we get rid of reservations? And reservations is something which will require a bipartisan call. It
वो
will
भी नहीं होगा.
require, तो फिर वही वही सारी बात आ जाती है ना, आपकी बड़ी प्रॉब्लम्स एड्रेस कैसे होंगी?
ये
आपको मिलिट्री
सिस्टम
मॉडर्नाइज करनी है,
हो ही
एक
नहीं
से एक
सकता.
आपको मिलिट्री मॉडर्नाइज करनी है। चाइना के पास ऐसी एयरफोर्स फ्लीट है, हर कोई आके ट्विटर पे रो देता है। पैसा चाहिए। Can there be two parties, national party? Will Rahul Gandhi sit today with the prime minister and say, yes, screw freebies in our states, in the center, let's put money towards defense and research? वो तो अग्निवीर को गालियां दे रहा है। आप बताओ ना, आपको solution चाहिए. This is why we have sort of thought about this, and probably if there are people who sort of agree to this, the next part can be about how do we achieve this? How can we structure or restructure our Rajya Sabhas and Lok Sabhas and elections maybe to achieve this? I mean, this is something we should just ponder upon. I'm not saying it's a policy, it's a philosophy that we must sort of
In
start
fact,
thinking about.
that was going to be my closing bit. That should we? Okay, we keep the Lok Sabha as is, where is regional parties are there, whatever. We fundamentally change the nature of the Rajya Sabha.
Absolutely.
Fundamentally change the nature of the Rajya Sabha. The Rajya Sabha becomes a more of a central representative where regional parties have no say. And that's where the politics of the country starts to become interesting.
No, actually, why not you have it like you have it in America? Every state gets 2 members to the upper house. That's simple. Let the representation be done in the actual house, the House of Representatives. The Senate continues to have 2 people, a system of checks and balances. Then we reimagine how the Prime Minister will be elected. Will it be a president or a prime minister? I mean, these are questions. We are not getting into the house right now. We're just getting into the idea कि ऐसा होना चाहिए, जैसे वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन के हाउ पर अभी हैं हम, कि ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट होगा, ये बदला जाएगा, ये होगा, वो होगा. Here we are just talking. And think about this. America has 4 years of tenure of the president. Then there are 2 years midterms. Every house member has a term of 2 years. You see how productive they are. How many issues there are where they are together actually. How much cross voting happens where the Democrats are something on board with the Republicans, or the Republicans are on board with the Democrats, or sometimes the Republicans are against Republicans. At the end of the day, in their both houses, the nation wins. Can we say the same for India? We can say it for the BJP because BJP is right now in the government. That's fine. They have a majority, they have a brute majority. That's perfectly fine. They've achieved it. What was going on in the UP era? Think about that. What was going on in the 90s? And we never want to go back there where we were in the 2000s and 90s. Just that's so.
So before we wrap up, मैं तेरे को पूछना था, is there anything else that you wanted to add that you had written down or something?
No, my only thing is you are not going to solve the biggest problems that this country faces in the long term. I'm not talking short term in this current system because the regional parties continue to have a greater say. 10 years later, maybe when the political capital of regional party changes, you can start solving some of the problems. But Bengal today has a national security problem that Mamata Banerjee should come to Delhi, tell the Prime Minister or the Home Minister, let's work together, let's fix it. Tell me where is your idea, tell me what I can do. It's too much idealism in my head. वो नहीं होता. So you're not going to solve the big problems if you're going to politicize every damn national security issue. That's all.
My whole thing is, I've always predicted that, like every big organization, BJP will also break eventually. That's just my long-term vision. The Congress will be decimated because the Gandhis will never loosen their grip, and the Congress will be decimated. That's just a fact of life.
So
Eventually, the BJP.
Are we looking at too many parties?
No, we are looking at a BJP being broken not on social lines. The BJP being broken finally on economic lines. So in 10 years, this country will become a 10 trillion economy. More than a 10 trillion economy, even at current growth rates. Easily.
You know, Kushal, you brought this, we are extending a bit here. But एक आर्टिकल लिखा था मैंने बहुत साल पहले स्वराज्य में that maybe there needs to be a party which is not there to fight elections. In the sense, their objective shouldn't be that we need to get certain number of seats in the Lok Sabha. Their importance would be just to improve the discourse. Think about this. People with loads of money, people with loads of success come together, form a political party, maybe contest in the urban areas where they think they'll have that catchment, political catchment, and they then start becoming the voice that improves the discourse in India. Where we are discussing private reservations, these people now put out agendas as to how we can go about manufacturing, tax cuts, imports, export policies, blah, blah, blah. That there is some sort of a B version of BJP, which is more urban in its thinking, which is a party that is in the 5 trillion economy framework, thinking of a $25 trillion economy framework.
So here's my take. What I was saying, and maybe these are my closing comments today. We are looking at a phase where eventually, when India becomes more and more prosperous, the pressures, the economic requirements. See, right now there are X number of have-nots and X number of haves, Y number of haves. The Y is going on increasing slowly but surely. In the next 10 years, Y will be a lot more. The Y will be a vote bank. Statistically significant vote bank that will matter. That will be the fundamental time when the BJP, because the BJP is now the centrifugal force of Indian politics, will break. By that time, I see Congress being pretty much done with. That Congress and a BJP will come together, and one BJP and one side of the Congress will come together. Hindutva will be the cultural baseline of the country on all sides of the polity. What has happened in Gujarat will happen pan-India. In Gujarat, the Congress is soft Hindutva. Like it or not, that story of Manishankar Iyer is real. That when he was scheduled to come and speak in Gujarat, the Congress Gujarat said, "ये भाई ये आदमी को मत भेजो, ये हमारा काम खराब कर देगा इधर. हमको कोई interest नहीं है इसको सुनने में." And that Gujarat Congress has been like that for a while. Okay, that's gonna happen pan India. I see that happening. I see India going towards that, and these regional parties will have some say here and there, and that's fair. But I think that the Rajya Sabha has to be an interesting model where we can tweak a few of these things here and there. But let's see. I'm going to look at a few questions, and only questions related to this topic. बाकी सबसे मेरे को कुछ लेना देना नहीं है. What is the balance between locals wanting people to learn their language and regionalism of parties like MNS, DMK? How can national parties navigate that? By the way, Tushar and I did a detailed podcast on this very thing. तो वो यार वो जाके देख लेना, उसमें इसके सारे आंसर हैं.
एक
I
सेकंड,
always believe every state has a city there, other languages are spoken.
why do you need to get into the language debate in the age of AI? I mean, you open Chat GPT, Grok, whatever on your phone, translate whatever the hell you want to, you're done. I mean, if you want to learn language purely out of a literary interest, fair enough. That should be your free will. But if someone is telling you to work here, you need to learn a language, that's regressive. And it's not even required because everyone can get by learning one or two languages in this country.
Yeah.
अगर आपको हिंदी नहीं सीखनी मत सीखो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, क्योंकि अगर आप तमिलनाडु से हो या कर्नाटका से हो, आपको अंग्रेजी आती है क्योंकि वो तो आप सीखोगे ही. एंड यू कम अप नॉर्थ, you come up even in say Uttarakhand or Punjab or very remote corners of Himachal, there people know enough English to help you out whatever you need. So language debates are meaningless. It's a waste of time and endless rhetoric.
As long as people get freebies, they will vote them in. Everybody gives freebies these days.
That's why we want parties that don't offer freebies.
Yeah. I don't think regional parties are bad unless they cross national security line, because national parties need balancing when they get any decision, but local parties don't have that and they focus their energy inside that state. Why can't we create a system where we don't need a regional party for that, but we have a more representative model where regional interests are represented? The current system does not have regional interests represented. Regional parties are not representing regional interests in any way possible. That's my whole point. They on paper do, in reality don't.
You think private sector reservations is not a national security problem? Maybe not directly. It's a national economic atmanirbharta problem, so as to put it. You do private sector reservations, you're screwed for life. This country is screwed for life. Just because you do not see an emergency in in a bad economic idea doesn't mean it's not a problem.
Yeah, I also feel there are better ways of doing it. Should adult franchise be given in stages? No. Yeah, I think you can debate the age, whether it should be 18 or a little later. That is a fair discussion to have. My view actually is it should be a little later. My personal view. I believe the frontal lobe is developed at the age of 25. थोड़ा लाइफ देखनी चाहिए लोगों को, उसके बाद वोट करना चाहिए. But that's just my personal view. It's okay. Okay. Unlike 370 Ram Mandir, this demographic challenge caused by Bangladesh has a time frame. If it is not addressed soon, there will be permanent changes which are irreversible. Your thoughts? Well, that is why regional parties become a problem.
Yes, that is why we are having this discussion.
Yeah, that is okay. Another question: do you think an elected mayor with admin power and control over police would be better? I honestly, I believe in a country like India, I don't know is my answer. Imagine if Kejriwal sitting in Delhi had control over police. I'm being very honest with you. क्या करता वो?
This will never happen. It's a personal idea. Don't lose your sleep over it. I think every 1 trillion economic zone in this country, there are going to be 3 or 4 of them in the next 10 years. NCR, Bombay, Bangalore being 3 of them. I think ideally there should be UTs in a certain way where their security at least is guaranteed by the center. We have to start looking at this frame. I don't know about what a mayor will do. It's very hard to, because politics in this country sort of makes people go crazy. So I'm purely speaking from a law and order perspective. I wish we start evaluating certain economic zones in this country purely from their economic value. That's all.
All right. And why can't India have a US model of governance? I think we should not have a complete American one, but I genuinely feel the time has come for some kind of a hybrid model between the American and the Westminster one for India. I sincerely believe, and I don't know why anybody is not really thinking on those lines. I think delimitation के बाद हमें वो सोचना शुरू करना चाहिए.
इसका क्वेश्चन इंटरेस्टिंग यार, कौन सा जो अभी वाला सिस्टम है, कौन सा तुम 100 या 150 साल पुराना है, वो भी तो 1947 में ही आया है ना.
हम्म,
It is something that the British sort of left us with because we were colonized by them. It's not something that's intrinsic to a civilization. Let's be very clear.
ये
If
फॉलो अप
Kushal,
क्वेश्चन देखना, फॉलो अप
हाँ,
क्वेश्चन देख. Doesn't the
it
US
does,
model make states growth oriented?
yes, it does. Now, if you want to talk about electoral college, I won't go there today. It's a very vast discussion for a what from a what if perspective. But yes, it does make them growth oriented. Think of
भाई
think.
इसीलिए तो मैं बोल रहा हूँ राज्यसभा के ऊपर एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन करो, लोकसभा को एज इज वेर इज रखो.
हाँ, वो फिर करेंगे उस पे. But it does make more growth oriented for sure.
या ओके यार, ये ऑफ टॉपिक मैंने नहीं लेना. और टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री, हाउ एग्जैक्टली, आई विल नॉट आंसर इट नाउ. यू आस्क मी क्वेश्चंस ऑन अ बांग्लादेश पॉडकास्ट, आई विल आंसर. On the topic of Rajya Sabha, what about Vidhan Parishad in states? My view is they serve no purpose. Example, Bihar, and they should be done away with constitutionalists.
I agree.
Yes, sir. You know what they have become? Adjusting people जिनको हम लोग टिकट नहीं दे पाए. भाई मैं, और all parties do it. All parties do it.
Manrega for aspiring politicians.
Yes. अरे भाई क्या है ये एमएलसी? क्या जरूरत है एमएलसी की? क्यों है एमएलसी? बिना बात का ऐसे ही ठोको पेलो. अरे एमएलए ज्यादा कर दो ना, जो एक्चुअल काम करना होता है जिनको, एमएलए ज्यादा कर दो, बढ़ा दो, बेटर रिप्रेजेंटेशन दे दो. बिना बात का यार, फोकटिया चंद ऐसे ही, मतलब बिना बात का. ये चलो, सारे क्वेश्चंस भी हो गए. एनी कंक्लूडिंग रिमार्क्स?
Can I make a request for people to subscribe to Atom if you allow?
श्योर अरे भाई बोल, बिंदास बोल. लिंक भी डाल देता हूँ.
नहीं, वो ठीक है. See, I started doing Atom because I also want to do a very detailed breakdown of things that is not done in the mainstream media and which is not done on a lot of podcasts. Very simple. And it's purely factual. So I just request everyone, Kushal is posting the link, subscribe to the channel. There are a few videos out there. It's a channel that's just started being active a month and a half ago. So just go ahead, sort of support it, help us get and we are not looking to sort of
how about this? I will do one step ahead. In the description of the podcast, right, you will see a direct link to the Atom channel in the description of the podcast. So, and I will add it over here also in the live chat. So all of you see this on the screen and it's in the live chat. Go subscribe to it. It is also there in the description of the podcast. So subscribe karo jaake. बिकॉज अगर तुम सब्सक्राइब नहीं करोगे तो तुम्हारी फेवरेट आईपीएल टीम हार जाएगी. और बाय द वे, टॉकिंग अबाउट आईपीएल, आरसीबी इज 38 for 5.
I don't know what are they.
I had to. Nothing gives me more happiness than trolling RCB. I have to share this as a story before we go. So I was in some talk in Canada. Somebody was the RCB fan. बोलता है मुझे आपकी सब बात अच्छी लगती है. एकदम सीरियस था वो बंदा. बोला आप आरसीबी के पीछे क्या पड़े? वो कनाडा में दुखी है, मैं आरसीबी को ट्रोल. मेरी हंसी नहीं कंट्रोल हुई. मैंने बोला यार इतना प्यार आरसीबी से. बोलता है यार आप बहुत गलत बात करते हो, एक तो साला हमारे को ट्रॉफी नहीं मिली है, आप और मजाक उड़ाते हो हमारा.
बट यू नेवर नो, उस दिन पंजाब और केकेआर का मैच बहुत इंसेन था
भाई. मजा आ गया वो मैच, बहुत अच्छा. आई थिंक बट द बेस्ट मैच वाज दैट दिल्ली, कौन सा हैदराबाद मैच था जिसमें वो लास्ट में उन्होंने मार के जीत लिया था.
the one where super over happened. Super over ना, where Stubbs hit a
super over नहीं, वो उन्होंने चेस कर लिया था, ऐसा कुछ था ना.
Punjab, the century by Arya.
Yeah,
I think that's the one you
start में था. I think it was the 5th or 6th match or something.
I think there was one match where Punjab put up a score, then Abhishek Sharma scored a big ton and they won that. I think that's one.
Hmm.
This year I'm liking the IPL at least, but yeah. But still subscribe to that and please, please, please. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So, guys, we'll wrap up now. Once again, in the description, you will see Tushar's X handle and the Atom channel YouTube link. Go subscribe to the Atom channel. If you've not subscribed to the Cārvāka podcast right now, go subscribe, like this video, leave a comment in the comment section. You know what we should do is actually in the comment section, uh, we should actually start having these thoughts कि आपके क्या थॉट्स है इस पे? जैसे अभी किसी ने लिखा है चंडीगढ़ म्युनिसिपल इलेक्शन में कमिश्नर वोट्स बदल रहा था. हाउ डज दिस पैन आउट इन दिस सिनेरियो? इट वाज बीजेपी ऑल द वे एंड सुप्रीम कोर्ट रिप्रिमांडेड एडविन. आई डोंट नो. अभी इस पे मैं क्या बोलूं यार भाई, वो जाके कोर्ट्स में ये
Embarrassing
करो.
था. Embarrassing था. Obviously embarrassing था.
या अभी मतलब इट वाज वाहियात बिहेवियर ऑफ द हाईएस्ट ऑर्डर इज माय आंसर. सो and it should not be happening in any democracy. So yeah, back to this. If you have not, do subscribe to my channel also, like this video, leave a comment in the comment section. If you're an audio listener, go leave a rating, whether you listen to on Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, I don't know, wherever. Leave a review there. If you want to buy my book Nastik Why I'm Not an Atheist, go buy it on Amazon or wherever jahan pe mujhse lete ho. If you want to buy Cārvāka podcast merchandise, you have kushalmehra.com and Kadak merch. Both options are there. I think internationally आपको Kadak merch पे order करना पड़ेगा. Locally आप kushalmehra.com और Kadak merch दोनों पे कर सकते हो. If you want to send one-time donations in India, kushalmehra at icici it is. And if it is in Canada, Interac Canada का email ID है kushalmehra81@gmail.com. But the real support, if you really want to support me, see, I did this discussion because I wanted to do it. I took a risk. The reason I am able to take these risks as a content creator and I don't do click whoredom is because I have a membership program. When you become a monthly member, even those small donations make me unique because I can do all these things. You empower me and stop me from becoming a click whore. Because click whoredom is the bane of Indian content creation. Please don't encourage click whoredom. And it's a genuine problem. It misguides a lot of people. And I am saying this at a very serious level. We are being misguided by a lot of content creators who misguide you. I might be
Absolutely.
wrong at times, but I don't do it intentionally. There are people who do it intentionally. So please join the membership program. You make, see, when you will make my model the best model available in town, everybody will then copy me and be incentivized to be like me, more balanced, more policy driven, more principle driven. So think about this. By making me successful, you'll actually help the rest of the content landscape, where they don't have to see what is trending and they have to talk about that, because that's the only way you get clicks. So please do consider joining this. Tushar and I, we will go on experimenting with many such topics on this podcast. We do it all the time. So keep supporting us. Take care. Bye bye.